Hello again, everybody. This is Marvelous Mark. Not talking about wrestling today, but I'm talking about one of my other favorite sports, and that is the National Football League. This is one of my favorite times of the year. I mean, we're now into the month of September, which means college football is already in full swing, and now the NFL is getting ready to start tonight as I'm recording this video. And of course, before you know it, we're gonna be right into December. But I don't want to think about that right now. I'm just gonna jump into what I think about this week's games in Week 1 of the National Football League season 2014. As is customary for the Thursday night game to start off the season, the team that won the Super Bowl last year usually gets a home game, unless you're the Baltimore Ravens, who had the Baltimore Orioles. Already had a home game that night, so Baltimore ended up playing in Denver last year, and, well, they got smoked. But as far as this year's opening game, we got the Green Bay Packers traveling to Seattle to take on the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. And on paper, this would look like a great matchup. You got the offense of the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, along with Jordy Nelson, Eddie Lacy, Randall Cobb, people like that, against the Legion of Boom defense with Richard Sherman. You got Malcolm Smith, who was the Super Bowl MVP last year, and you got probably the best safety tandem in the league, and Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. But as far as what I think about this game, I believe Jordy Nelson will probably be covered by Richard Sherman, so I think that's going to negate him quite a bit. So therefore, I think the Packers are going to have to lean more on the running game with Eddie Lacy and James Starks backing them up in that. So as far as the Seahawks go, they have Russell Wilson, who is looking more and more like he's going to be an elite quarterback sooner than later. And they also have one of the big workhorse backs in the NFL, and Marshawn Lynch. Then for now they also have a healthy Percy Harvin, but how long he will stay that way is anyone's guess. But as far as what I think about this game tonight, I don't think the Seahawks are going to need a Hail Mary to win this game. I think the 12th man in their defense is going to be enough to beat the Packers. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I think the Seahawks will win by at least a field goal. All right, starting off with the noon games on Sunday, you got the matchup of the Washington Redskins, who are traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. It's the beginning of the Jadeveon Clowney era in Houston, along with it's going to be a matchup of two of the new head coaches in the NFL. Jay Gruden with the Washington Redskins, the former offensive coordinator with the Cincinnati Bengals, and then Bill O'Brien with the Texans, who had the unenviable task of following Joe Paterno at Penn State. Well, their combined record last year was 5-27. Ooh, ouch. And normally when you have two teams that bad, they're going to be drafting towards the top of the draft, and that's what they did this past year. Talking about the Texans, J.J. Watt, who's probably the best defensive end in the league, if not arguably the best defensive player in the league. Then you add Jadeveon Clowney, the number 1 overall pick out of South Carolina, and you get a pretty imposing defense right there. And also, Arian Foster is back after having back surgery last year, which cut short his season. So he's going to have to be in top shape for them to succeed in this year. Then you look at the Washington Redskins. You got RG3, who needs to come up big in this game, I believe. And you got Alfred Morris lining up in the backfield, and you got Pierre Garçon at one of the wide receivers. So Alfred Morris should be able to have a pretty good game against the Texans' rush defense. But as far as what I think about this game, I don't think it's going to be a pretty game by any stretch. But I think Houston will win their first game since Week 2 of last year. Okay, next you got Tennessee traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Titans have a new coach this year in Ken Wisenhunt. And as far as the Chiefs go, they made the playoffs last year. They started out so hot. They started out 9-0, and they ended up having to settle for the wild card, where they were defeated by the Indianapolis Colts after the Chiefs blew a big lead in that game. As far as what I think about the Titans this year, they need Jake Locker to finally step up. It's not like he doesn't have any weapons. As far as receivers go, he has Nate Washington. He's got second-year players in Justin Hunter and Kendall Wright. So, although he doesn't have Chris Johnson anymore, he's gone to New York to play for the Jets. So, as far as the running game, it's going to be Sean Green and rookie Bishop Sankey. So, as far as the Chiefs go, their offensive line is very suspect, I think. And Dwayne Bowe will not be playing in this game due to a personal conduct suspension. So, Travis Kelce might be a guy to look out for in this game. But as far as what I think of what's going to happen in this game, I think the Chiefs crowd will make the difference in this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. And I think the Chiefs are going to win, probably by field goal. All right, next you got the New England Patriots in an AFC East matchup against one of their rivals, the Miami Dolphins. And biggest story coming out of this game is the potential return of one Rob Gronkowski, who's had a myriad of injuries in the last couple of years. But when he's on the field, he's one of the 2 or 3 best tight ends in football. But they should be improved on defense as Gerard Mayo and Vince Wilfork will be back from injuries suffered last year, and then the addition of Darrelle Revis in the secondary, that's going to be big as long as he is the Darrelle Revis of old. And as far as the Dolphins go, they signed Noshawn Moreno in free agency this year from the Denver Broncos, and he's going to need to be good, and as well as Ryan Tannehill, he really needs to step up this year. And Mike Wallace, his big target there. So, as far as what I think about this game, I think the Patriots will win this game. Even though they start with the first 3 or 4 on the road, I believe they will win this game, and they're probably going to win the division once again. Next up is the Jets, Jets, hosting the Oakland Raiders. In a matchup, I don't really care a whole hell of a lot about it, but one thing is going to be a big storyline in this game is the Derek Carr era is starting in Oakland already. He beat out Matt Schaub, who they acquired in a trade with the Houston Texans in the offseason. So this to me looks like a low-scoring affair. Derek Carr is going to have to fend off the defensive line of the Jets with Muhammad Wilkerson and Defensive Rookie of the Year Sheldon Richardson. So I expect this to be a low-scoring affair, but I think the Jets win this game. Okay, next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC East champions from last season. And why Jacksonville is not starting Blake Bortles is beyond me, but they're, at least at the beginning of the season, they're starting Chad Henne. And I don't think it's going to be too long before Blake Bortles is starting, the 3rd overall pick from this year's draft. So, and Toby Gerhart is finally going to get a chance to be the starter after backing up Adrian Peterson in Minnesota over the last few years. So he's proven what he can do when he gets the chance. So I think he will have a decent year in Jacksonville. So, and as far as the Eagles go, what will they do to replace Deshaun Jackson? Well, Jeremy Maclin's coming back off an ACL injury. Then you have Riley Cooper, and then you got your tight ends Brent Selleck and Zach Ertz. So it's not like Nick Foles won't have anybody to throw to there. And then you got lining up behind him. You got probably the best all-purpose back in the NFL. I didn't say the best back in the NFL because he plays on my team, but I think as far as the best all-purpose back in the NFL, he's got Shady McCoy lining up behind him. So as far as I think, what I think about this game, I think the Eagles win this going away. I don't see Jacksonville winning this game. Okay, next up is an AFC North divisional rivalry game between the Cleveland Browns traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Well, one thing you can say about the Browns is that they are still the Browns. The only constant with this team, it seems to be, is change. You got new coaches. You got a new coach in Mike Pettin. You got a new GM. You got a new opening day quarterback in Brian Hoyer, who's coming off an ACL injury. But you got Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel waiting in the wings, so we'll see how long that lasts. And as far as what I think about this game, I don't really think about it because I think the Steelers are going to win this, and they're probably going to win it going away. All right, the Mike Zimmer era begins in Minnesota as the Minnesota Vikings go to St. Louis to take on the Rams. This is the team that came off an undefeated preseason where they only allowed 12.3 points a game. Wow. And I say wow because this is the same Viking team that gave up 30 points a game last year and stumbled to a 5-10-1 record. And one of the reasons for that is they had no stability at the quarterback position. You didn't know who was going to start from game to game. Whether it was Josh Freeman, or if it was Christian Ponder, or Matt Castle, who is going to be starting at least the first part of the season. He's going to be starting for the Vikings. And of course, when you talk about the Vikings on offense, you have to start with Adrian Peterson, who I still believe is the best running back in football. I didn't say he was the best all-purpose back because I think that's Shady McCoy, but as far as just a straight running back, I think AP is the best running back in football still. And, of course, with a new coach, you have new coordinators. You got Norv Turner as the new offense coordinator, and you got George Edwards on the defensive side of the ball. And one thing you can say about Norv Turner is he always gets tight ends involved in the game, so look what he did with Jordan Cameron last year in Cleveland. And I think he can do the same with Kyle Rudolph. And another thing that I think North Turner will be able to do is get Cordero Patterson more touches in the passing game, or just however you want to do it. Because Bill Musgrave sure as hell couldn't do it. Excuse me. And as far as the Rams go, Sam Bradford is out for the season with another ACL injury, so they're turning to journeyman quarterback Sean Hill, who was once a Viking a few years ago. And one thing you can say about the Rams is that they have one of the best defensive lines in football. With Robert Quinn on one side of the line, you got Chris Long on the other side. And as far as offensively they go, you got Zach Stacy lining up at running back, and Tavon Austin will look to be a factor in this game as well. But as far as what I think about this game, I think the field position is going to be very, very paramount in this game. And I think the Vikings will win this game. And this is not a homer pick. I really do think they're going to win this game. But it'll probably only be like a field goal or less. It'll probably be decided by the foot of Blair Walsh. All right, next up, you got the Buffalo Bills traveling to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears. I really don't think this is going to be much of a contest, as Buffalo cannot move the ball on offense. But Chicago they got definite issues on defense, and in fact, especially the fact that they're pretty old. But as far as what I think about this game, Brandon Marshall, I think, and Alshon Jeffrey and Matt Forte are going to be too much for the Bills to handle, and I think the Bears win this by probably 2 touchdowns. Well, the AFC North is going to be featured pretty prominently in Week 1. And you got the Browns playing the Steelers, and then you got the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. And this is the matchup of 2 overpriced quarterbacks, or I should say overpaid. One in Andy Dalton for the Bengals, who just got a 4-year extension worth $68 million. I don't think he's worth that, but then again, that's not for me to decide. And then you got Joe Flacco with the Ravens. He's very overpaid, and at least you can say he's won a Super Bowl because he's at least done that, which is more than Andy Dalton has done. But Bernard Pierce is going to be carrying the rock for the Ravens for the first couple weeks. Should have been longer after Ray Rice got suspended for that domestic violence incident. 2 games, Roger Goodell, really. But another thing that's none of my business. But Joe Flacco has other weapons like Torrey Smith, and you got Steve Smith Sr., who's the longtime Carolina Panther, who's now with them. Then you got Owen Daniels, who's the new tight end in Baltimore. So along with Dennis Pitta, who's returning, and then you got Andy Dalton, who's got AJ Green and Mohamed Sanu on the outside. Then you got your two tight ends and Jermaine Gresham and Tyler Eifert and Giovanni Bernard, who will be lined up in the backfield, although I would expect to see Jeremy Hill, the rookie out of LSU, get carries as well. So, as far as what I think about this game, I think the Ravens win on a late Justin Tucker field goal. All right, in the last of the noontime games, you got the Atlanta Falcons hosting the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons are trying to erase the memory of going in 4-12 last year, and they were just god awful, pretty much. I mean, although to be fair, they did lose Julio Jones early in the season with a foot injury. He seems to be recovered from that, and then Steven Jackson, who I don't know how much longer he's going to be playing, but as far as what I think about this game, Matt Ryan's going to need to get the ball to Roddy White and Julio Jones early and often. I don't even know who their tight end is this year after Tony Gonzalez retired. So, and then you got the Saints, who are loaded again on offense with Drew Brees coming back, and then of course you got Marcus Colston, and you got their running backs in the backfield like Mark Ingram and Pierre Thomas and Kyrie Robinson. But they have a new weapon this year in the rookie out of Oregon State, Brandon Cooks, and I think he's going to be special. But as far as what I think about this game, I think Saints won this by a touchdown. Even though I know they only went 3-5 on the road last year, they're a much different team on the road than they are in the Superdome. But I still think the Saints are going to win this game. All right, now the late games. Carolina traveling to Tampa Bay to take on new coach Lovie Smith and the Buccaneers. The first order of business for Carolina is keeping Cam Newton upright, because he's got a surgically repaired left ankle, and then he's got a hairline fracture on the left side of his ribs. So. And can he get the ball to a number of nondescript wide receivers and rookie wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin, who caught the winning touchdown in the national championship last year against Auburn? And then you got their two running backs, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, who seems like they've been around for frickin' ever. But the Bucs, they don't only just have a new coach, they have a new GM as well, and they got a new quarterback starting in Josh McCown, who played well in the absence of Jay Cutler last year in Chicago. So, and they also just traded for Pro Bowl guard Logan Mankins from the Patriots. So, I actually think the Bucs are going to win this game. It sounds like kind of an upset, but I don't think it really is going to be. I think the Bucs might surprise some people this year. All right, then the featured late game is one of the better rivalries in the NFL over the past probably 3 decades or so. The San Francisco 49ers traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And you would think that the Niners would be loaded on offense with the return of Colin Kaepernick at quarterback and wide receivers like Anquan Bolden and Michael Crabtree and newly acquired Stevie Johnson from the Buffalo Bills. Then you got Frank Gore lining up in the backfield along with rookie Carlos Hyde from Ohio State. But this team has questions on defense. I mean, Carlos Rogers is gone. He went to Oakland. Dante Whitner, the safety, went to Cleveland. Alden Smith is suspended until like November 10th. Then Ray McDonald is probably going to be suspended after that domestic violence incident. So he'll probably be gone for about 6 games. So then you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and they had one of the worst defenses in league history last year. And that was with Sean Lee in the middle playing linebacker. Now he is out for the season, and you got Orlando Scandrick, who's suspended for the first 4 games of the season, and And Tony Romo coming off 2 back surgeries, so boy, I don't see Dallas winning this game. In fact, I think this could be a rout. I think the 49ers had too much for the Cowboys in this game, and I think they will win probably by 2 touchdowns. Oh, and then you got the Sunday night game. The Indianapolis Colts traveling to Denver to take on Peyton Manning and the Broncos. This will be a second game against the Broncos, or excuse me, against the Colts, and he will be looking to erase the memory of his latest choke job against the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 48, where they just got their asses handed to them. But I wouldn't worry about the Broncos too much on offense, even with the 4-game suspension of Wes Welker, because Emmanuel Sanders can probably just step right into that slot position, and he's proven to be pretty dangerous in the preseason. So you could almost put anybody at wide receiver in that offense, and they're going to be studs. I mean, look at Eric Decker. I mean, he parlayed that into a number 1 wide receiver position in New York with the Jets. So I think Denver's got so many weapons on offense. You got Peyton Manning, and then you got wide receivers. You got Demaryius Thomas. You got Julius Thomas at tight end. You got Monte Ball, who's now going to be the featured running back in Denver after Noshawn Moreno went to Miami. So, and as far as the Colts go, they look to go further in the playoffs after they got thrashed by the Patriots in the divisional playoff game last year. But Andrew Luck is probably the best young quarterback in the league. But where's the running game going to be? Trent Richardson has been nothing short of a bust so far. And then you got Ahmad Bradshaw, who's come over from the Giants. So those two are going to have to be able to at least be able to take some pressure off Andrew Luck in the passing game. So then Reggie Wayne's coming back off an injury, and then they signed Hakeem Nicks in free agency from the New York Giants. So I think this matchup has all the makings of a shootout, but I think Denver's going to win by a touchdown at home. All right, now the Monday night games. As is customary in Week 1, you have 2 Monday night games. I will start with the first one, which is the New York Football Giants traveling to Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions. And this has the makings, to me, of a turnover-ridden game, as you have the 2 most careless quarterbacks in the NFC last year as far as handling the ball, and Eli Manning against Matthew Stafford. But I think offensively, the Lions should be good again, as they still have the best wide receiver in football in Megatron, Calvin Johnson. Then they signed Golden Tate in free agency from the Super Bowl champion Seahawks, and then the 10th pick overall, they drafted Eric Ebron, a tight end out of North Carolina. So then you got Reggie Bush and Joique Bell in the backfield. So I think Detroit's still going to be loaded on offense, and as far as the Giants, their defense is going to be kind of suspect, especially at the defensive line. I think they're going to have a tough time getting pressure on Stafford. So I think the Lions win this game at home. And then finally, the nightcap on Monday night, you got the San Diego Chargers traveling to University of Phoenix Stadium to take on the Arizona Cardinals. The Chargers, of course, are led by Phillip Rivers, and he has plenty of weapons to throw to, including Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, Keenan Allen. And you got probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in football, Malcolm Floyd. Then you got Antonio Gates and Ladarius Green at tight end. This may be Gates' last year as far as his Hall of Fame career goes. And make no mistake about it, Antonio Gates will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame someday. Then you also got Ryan Matthews lining up in the backfield, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. Well, the Arizona Cardinals, they still have Carson Palmer lining up under center. And he's got a couple of weapons to throw to, and Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd, who came on at the end of last year. And as far as running back, Andre Ellington needs to keep it going from what he was doing last year. Late in the season, he was one of the better running backs in the league in the latter part of the latter stages of the year. So, as many people as the Chargers have lost, the Cardinals have lost in free agency and to suspensions. Like they lost Darrell Washington to a 1-year suspension for PEDs or some kind of substance abuse. But I think the Chargers win this game on the road, and they'll probably win by about a touchdown. So let me know what you think about my predictions for Week 1 of the National Football League season. Comment down below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe up above. Thank you very much. See you later.